everyone. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to this week's episode of GCC's Georgia Chiro Connection. I'm your host, Dr. Kathy, and today's guest is Dr. Jamie Masyk, who practices up in Fort Oglethorpe, which is the northwest corner of Georgia. So, hey, Dr. Jamie, how are you?
Doing great. Doing great.
I'm really happy to have you on here today because I kind of feel like I watched you grow up in chiropractic. I remember when you were a student. I remember when you kind of first got out of school, when you were practicing down in this area, but you've been up there for quite some time, haven't you?
Yeah, I've been up here 11 and a half years. Decided to move um, as far north in Georgia as possible. Originally, like I used to practice with Dan too at Friends and Family Chiropractic. And when I left that practice, my wife Samantha and I were considering moving to Canada. And when we started looking at like, well, where should we move? We looked at British Columbia. We're looking at practice in the mountains because we wanted to, have an outdoor lifestyle. But she had issues. She was a massage therapist and she couldn't move to Canada. And they told her, well, you can't transfer anything up here. You're gonna have to do a 4-year degree program to do something you already know how to do. And so she was like, I don't feel comfortable moving up there. Where else can we move? And so I spent a lot of time outside of Chattanooga, rock climbing and being in the outdoors. So we decided, well, let's move up that way. And how we found this town was I kept seeing it on a map. And like every time I'd look at Google Maps and everything, it was like, hey, you should be around here. And so it was after a DE that I was like, okay, I'm ready to, it's like open up another practice. On the Monday, I drove up and I knew Dr. Pat McCarver was in Ringgold, so I stopped by his office. He kind of shuffled me out the door, and I was like, well, let's just drive around, looking around the area, and just on a whim, just said, hey, let's just do it. We don't know anything about this area, like in North Georgia. Let's just find a place and start a practice. And so that's what we did. And it's been great for us. It's like it's taken us a while to be well known in the area. It's been great for us. We live in Chattanooga, and downtown Chattanooga from my office is maybe a 12-minute drive. Like it's not that far. So like we live in Chattanooga and practice in North Georgia, which is good. Sometimes have that separation, but the area has grown on us. We love it. We love it. More and more every like day, every year we're here. There's so much to do. I just love the area. The people are great, very welcoming. We've done very well here.
I'm glad to hear that and excited to talk to you about this because I'm assuming that we have some students or some newer docs who are watching, whether they're watching live or they're going to watch the replay, who in their mind, they can't figure out where to go practice. Sometimes it's just go back to wherever I have a job. Sometimes it's just go back to wherever I grew up. Sometimes it's just go back to home or go back to wherever my spouse is. But the thought of just picking a new place where you don't know anyone and just deciding this is where I want to create my life, this is where I want to create my practice based on what you like to do as your lifestyle, right? You basically chose a location that suits your lifestyle.
And we did. Really, like as a chiropractor, just graduating school, I think the biggest stress is, if you're not tied to a specific area with family or anything, like the toughest thing is finding like that location because you could literally go like most places in the world to practice. It's like, yeah, you might have to take another test or board exam, but it gets tough and stressful. And I felt like that's a situation that I had graduating, but then also starting a second practice. It was like, well, we could go anywhere. Where are we going to go? And that's one reason we chose this area is, it's like we were up here so often. Rock climbing, never really went to Chattanooga, like or anywhere like, town or city. We're always in the woods, rock climbing and camping around here. So the area was kind of familiar, but we didn't know anybody here. And also, my wife is from Kennesaw, Georgia, so like her family is somewhat close. So that's why we kind of chose this area, and it's been good. And as a new doc or a student, like it's like you just have to really start somewhere, and it's like the consistency matters. It's like we had a slow start. It's like to the practice, and partly because I was going through cancer, had health issues, where I was basically bedridden. And so it's like I opened up the practice, um, and ended up 2 weeks into open, I was basically bedridden, and so I still showed up to networking events as a rec. I still showed up like 2 hours a week in the office, so I like had very limited, almost no adjusting hours, but still kept consistency. While I was going through that, because like my main thing was like, hey, I need to keep the doors open. I need enough money to be able to pay bills and get through life. And then once I got through all that, it was just consistency. So it's like we've been very consistent with, it's like schools in the area. So we're like partner in education. We've done that from day one. I've been in practice in this town for 11 and a half years. I'm actually still a chamber member. I'm the one that's in my one. We have leads groups in the chamber that are like kind of BNI networking groups. I'm the longest member in the group I'm a part of. I did take leadership roles in that. It's like a step down, for now, and it's like just consistency showing up. And the biggest thing is keeping, like for me, keeping the main thing too. It's like I see so many chiropractors. It's like around me, in Chattanooga, around the country, that just get caught up in like, how do I make more money with less, doing less? And they got caught up in all these little side projects and things. And then next thing you know, they close their doors because their heart isn't in it, and they really lose their way and they become miserable. So don't become a slave to making that extra dollar all the time. One of my mentors said, if you want to make more money, help more people. So it's like we've always kind of live by that rule of like just getting out there. And at the beginning, you're going to have to hustle. Currently, we don't do screenings. It's like we do, and like we have mostly all internal referrals, but it's taken us a long time to establish. It's like a trusting name in town, and like we pull people from an hour away, and they're happy to come see us. They're like, hey, we've been referred here by either midwives or doulas. It's like current patients, and so it just it takes a while to get to that point. And it takes some grit.
Listen, you just threw out so many nuggets in such a small amount of time. So I just kind of want to touch base on them. One of the first things you said, and students, if you're watching, listen to this. Sometimes you have too many opportunities and it's really hard to make a decision. When you can go anywhere in the world, it's hard to narrow it down. With my team, what we've always done is if we're doing an event in the community, narrow it down for them. Don't say, when can you come in? Give them two choices, Monday or Wednesday. Give them two choices, morning or afternoon. Give them two time slots, right? To narrow it down, because that open, any possibility kind of thing, it makes it really hard to make a decision. You said about consistency. I mean, you said it perfectly. Your involvement with schools and the networking groups. How long have you been doing that? Did you start that in the very beginning? Is that something that you realized you had to do eventually?
So right from day one, even before we opened our office doors, I was in town networking and already being a partner in education at the Coutous County schools, and we've always done it. That's our like normal thing. And it's like, okay, like what are we going to do to help schools and teachers? And it's like I don't necessarily get direct business from that, but it's like our name is out there and people are like, hey, we've seen you somewhere. We've heard you somewhere. And so like every little thing helps you. It's like really get notified in the community of like, hey, these guys are here, and like we're completely different than other chiropractors in the area. It's like we're not pain management. I want consistency in my office too, and that's what I'll promote every single day. Is consistency over time is going to give you results in your health, but also building, the healthier practice as well.
Right. Well, you showed your community, you put your roots down and you said, we're here to participate. We're here to be involved. We're here for the long haul. And I really think, thank you for sharing about your journey going through your cancer treatment, because I think that also showed your patients and showed your community, we decided this is where we're going to be, and we're going to be here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, one of the last nuggets that you gave us was, you said, keep the main thing, the main thing. And I think it's something that I'm seeing all over social media, where constantly I'm seeing chiropractors asking, what else can I do to make money? Or what's a good side hustle? Or what can I do? Or how can I do? Or what else can I add to the practice? And Sharon Gorman would always say, if you want to make more money, see more people. Your mentor said, if you want to make more money, help more people. And that's really what it comes down to. It's the amount of time, energy, effort, money, and stress that you would put into learning something new, or buying some new equipment, or buying the next widget. If you put that time, energy, money, and effort into building your practice, or meeting people in your community, or marketing, or talking to your current patients and building those internal referrals, how fast could your practice grow?
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy. You sit in class, how many hours of seat time to learn this thing we call chiropractic, and then people get out and they're like, oh, I'm not even going to do chiropractic. I'm just going to do something like sell other stuff. I'm like, oh man, you spend all that time. Why?
You got that degree. Let's use it. Let's use it to help people. And I think sometimes people just need to reconnect to their why. What is your why? What is your purpose? Why did you go to school in the first place? And when you reconnect with that, if it doesn't bring you some sort of emotion, then your why isn't big enough, or you really didn't dig down deep enough to it. Because if the only reason you became a chiropractor was because a guidance counselor said you can make a lot of money,
Right.
that's not a big enough why, right? And sometimes that's the reason. I see it with the students all the time. But if you have a life-changing experience, or you witnessed a life-changing experience with your patients, or you missed an opportunity with a family member, then you've got a connection.
One quick thing before we go over other stuff, but like that purpose, your why, you get out of school and you have a little bit of why. You could have had a personal story where it's like, hey, your life changed, your health changed. My health is better because of chiropractic. But it's like when you get out and practice and you go through the grind and the stress, and like you're like, I'm just gonna give it up. It's like it's easy to give up, but it's like when you start seeing results and life changing, things from people coming in your office, like that's something to give you that purpose and the drive to keep doing what you're doing. Because it's easy to just get worn out. Like, it's like emotional drain and stuff like that is an issue, with a number of patients coming in the office, and then it's like you got the tax guy calling, you got this happening, and you're just like, what am I doing? And then you just take this back and be like, oh yeah, remember that little baby that had a failure to thrive and was on the verge of deathbed? And the chiropractic adjustments really changed its life, and now it's like a thriving, it's like 5-year-old, it's like that baby, you gave it hope, you gave it chance. I shouldn't say, hey, you gave the baby a chance and family chance. It's hope to see that change in the body. It's like is capable of healing if you just give it an opportunity to do that. And, I think like testimonials are awesome, and if you're not like picking that stuff up, like we get patient testimonials. We do like reevaluations where it's like, hey, what's changed? And like we'll grab some of that if we have like a rough day. We're like, hey, look at this team, this is amazing. Like this is why we show up every day. This is why we do, what we do. Okay, chiropractic's amazing.
All right. Can you share one of those stories with us?
Yeah, I could. So we got this little guy, um, this couple of years back, right during COVID. It's like we didn't change a darn thing in our office. We're like, show up. We're gonna be the normalest people you know. And this little fella, 5 weeks old, was born failure to thrive, had major issues, screaming, crying, would sleep maybe 40 minutes at a time. And at 5 weeks old, the pediatrician's like, oh, it's normal. He's got silent reflux. Here's some meds. Oh, he's got colic. Here's some more meds. And it's like they just went through 5 weeks. Parents no sleep, and they found us through a Facebook group. Someone spoke highly of us, and they're like, we got to go there. And it's like they drove a distance to get here. I use insight scans. I use like pediatric ear clip, heart rate variability, and his nerve system was just like stressed out. And I told the parents, I'm like, it's going to take some time, and it's like he also had torticollis, and the pediatrician told him, oh, that's normal, that's fine,
They'll
and
grow out of it.
all
Yeah.
these things like misinformation, right? And
Right.
so we started getting this little guy adjusted, and it took a number of weeks, seeing this little guy, consistently, pretty frequent, during the weeks. And it took a couple of weeks to start seeing a smidge of results. And like, the mom was like, this is like June. Do you think he's going to be good at Christmas? Because we're going to go visit family. And I'm like, Christmas? I'm like, well, yeah. Like, it's like there's going to be some issues if he's not. And so, it's like getting this little guy adjusted. The parents are like, he's sleeping like an hour, and then he's like more comfortable, and like his head was straightening out. And like, it was just like awesome to see that whole transition. And it's like, you think it's hard on the baby, but it's like really affecting the parent's life. It's like they had so many issues because they weren't getting sleep. They're having like spousal issues, and it's like whole family ordeal. And like this little guy, they finally moved up to Indiana, and it was like 2 years after. It was like last year. The mom was like, hey, I'm in town. I'm gonna bring like it's like little guy here. Yeah, he wants to meet you guys. And like I think he was like 4 years old, and it's super healthy. They continued chiropractic, up north, and it like just awesome to see. But what if they didn't see that that message in chiropractic? What if they just went like the medical route? Like
Right.
what would happen?
Yeah.
So I don't know, kind of emotional, but
Absolutely, because it changes the trajectory of that child and that family's lives.
yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. And
Yeah.
so we see it often. Coming into the office, like we see some of the sickest people. If you spend the time and the consistency in their chiropractic care, you have a whole different product, right? Your body is capable of healing. First thing I tell people is like, I don't heal people. These hands aren't for physically healing you. We reconnect the body, like the brain to the body. We allow adaptability in the nerve system. We allow your body to be a better healer rather than just stuck in that survival mode. And it's like when people come back, it's like for like a reevaluation. They're like, hey, my digestion's better. I'm off all these meds, and I'm like, that's awesome. And they try to give me credit, and I'm like, I maybe have the key to make that change, but like really, your body's doing all the work. So
Mhm.
give your body credit.
Yeah. I love it. And that's, what, if enough of us continue to give that message, and if there's chiropractors around the world giving that message and making sure people start to connect to it and understand it, and allowing the time for their bodies to heal under chiropractic care, for their body to start functioning better, what a different world this would be.
Be way different. Way different.
I love it. Dr. Jamie, I'm so glad that you joined us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. And thank you, everybody, for watching with us today. Let me remind you about the events that we have coming up. Now, coming up the weekend of July 18th, 19th, and 20th. That's not this weekend, it's next weekend. That's DE in Atlanta. If you want to get registered for that, just go to lifede.com to get registered for that. And then let's talk about some of the upcoming GCC events that we have. So, GCC does continuing ed all around the state. We've got Augusta coming up in August. That's the 10th and the 11th. Then we head down to South Georgia, the end of August. On Friday, September 13th, we've got our Chiro Cup. We'll talk about that in a minute because November, we're going to head down to Savannah for CE. And remember, every one of these weekends, you can get all of your required hours. We finish up in December with our annual convention. That's in the Marietta area. That's going to be up here. So we are all over the state, making sure that we make it convenient for you. But let me also tell you about our Chiro Cup. So coming up on Friday, September 13th at the Marietta City Club, we have our annual Chiro Cup. This is our 7th annual Chiro Cup. If you've been there before, it's a great event, lots of prizes, great food, tons of drinks and food, and just a great time to be with other fellow chiropractors and people who are in our circle because, it might be your patients that are playing. It might be some vendors that are playing, but we still want you to get registered for that, chirocup.com. If you have a business that you'd like to be a sponsor or know someone who would be a good sponsor, if you have any items that you'd like to donate, if you'd like to play, or even if you can't, we could use the help getting this promoted because the funds that we raise here help us with two main things. One is a public awareness campaign. The second is money for chiropractic research. So help us out. Go to chirocup.com, share the information with your patients. We'd greatly appreciate that. Last thing I want to talk about before we go today is we are coming up on the 60th anniversary of DE. So in October, there is going to be a 60th anniversary gala. So the entire weekend will be dedicated to 60 years of DE. But that Saturday night, there's going to be a black tie gala. You can get your tickets and get yourself registered at lifede.com. Check it out. Make sure you put that on your calendar. You are not going to want to miss this one. So put it on your calendar now before it gets filled with kids stuff and busy stuff and sports stuff and practice stuff and marketing. Put that on your calendar. You will not regret being there. So with that being said, Dr. Jamie, thank you so much for coming on today.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me, Dr. Kathy.
Absolutely. And for those of you that are watching, whether you're live or recorded, thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next week right here for GCC's Georgia Chiro Connection. Bye.
See ya.